Hello, everybody. We are here to talk about Marvel movies. We're going to start with Blade.
Which is not the first Marvel movie.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why we're starting with Blade. Uh, One of them's probably pretty obvious to some people. But I also looked at the list of MCU movies before the MCU, and Blade it's the first big one. I was kind of surprised it did actually come out before X-Men.
Well, yeah.
I didn't realize that. It's like 2 years before X-Men. So when I originally wanted to do this, I was like, I'm going to start with the first one, Spider-Man. Oh, took me a little while. Oh, wait, no, X-Men came out before Spider-Man. And then I looked into it and found out the Blade came out before X-Men.
Wesley Snipes is old.
Yeah. Yes, he is. And future spoilers, he didn't look it.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, starting with Blade. We watched Blade last night. Or was it the night before?
Night before. This is 2 nights.
So, this episode's going to come out a little late. Because I originally wanted to record it yesterday, but we were busy yesterday, and blah, 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 blah. But here we are today. So we have watched Blade. Let's get a little into Blade. Who he is as a person. So Blade's birth name is Eric Cross Brooks. Do you know that? Did his name ever come up in the movie? I don't remember. I thought I heard somebody say Eric at some point, but...
Mm-hmm. But you want to know that. Like,
yeah.
How does he know
Yeah, true enough. His first appearance was in the comic book The Tomb of Dracula, number 10, in July 1973. So he's a pretty old character. I read most of this comic book. I signed up for Marvel Unlimited again. And I read a couple of Blade comic books. I read most of this one. It's pretty generic 70s Marvel trash that nobody read. I also read he has a new run going on right now that's ongoing. I read the first issue of that, and it was okay. It was interesting because it's like every single issue is its own unique story, I guess, and they also tell his backstory of how he was. His mom was bit by a vampire, and so he is half vampire. Blah 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 blah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
But the thing that I found really interesting about the new run of comics is most comics end with like a letter from the writer or whatever. This one ends and it's like, listen, I know Blade is nobody's favorite character, so we need this one to have like super mass appeal, so we can hopefully continue to make it because nobody buys these goddamn comic books. Which, doing a little research on it, there really aren't that many Blade comic books. Like, apparently he's just, like, in terms of comic book people, he's not a very popular character. And just nobody buys them. He only has a handful of runs that are Blade comic books. Like, it doesn't happen very often.
That's why he wasn't initiated into the Avengers.
Probably. So, I thought that was pretty interesting. Us millennials and old people, I guess, kind of think of Blade as like this big deal, but in the comic book world, he's just not a big deal, like at all. Nobody gives a shit.
You think of Blade, you think of Wesley Snipes. You don't think of a comic.
Which, I went and, I suppose maybe we'll start talking about the movie now. I went and seen this movie in the theaters when I was a little kid. I'm pretty sure. I know I went and seen the other two, but I'm pretty sure I saw this one in theaters. And it was a very long time before I even realized Blade was a comic book character.
I didn't know he was a comic book character until you said something today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So.
So, babe, I told you we were doing this.
Yeah, but I didn't do research.
Well, I told you we were watching the Marvel movies.
Yeah. I just thought he was just made up by Stan Lee or something, not an actual comic.
Oh, no, he's around, kinda. He's a big part of, and this is gonna be coming up in the MCU, so get excited. There's this other group called the Midnight Suns, and they're like Avengers for like ghosts and werewolves and shit. It's like Doctor Strange, Blade, and Ghost Rider, and like all the spooky
Like
characters.
the Werewolf by Midnight.
Yep.
Okay.
He'll be in the. Apparently, they're starting to work on that movie, so that'll be exciting. And I'm sure.
Because I was talking about like my list at work and stuff, and Werewolf by Midnight is on there because we watched it. And Sam popped up. He's like, "What is Werewolf by Midnight?" And well, hello, Loki. And I'm like, I don't know. It's a comic, I guess.
He's just a werewolf guy. Marvel has this whole line really early on, before Marvel really had like their characters like set before the Fantastic Four and everything. They did a whole lot of horror comics, so there's a lot of carryover every once in a while from those really old comics that kind of creep into the rest of the Marvel universe sometimes. Like Dracula's in the Marvel universe, like he's a character. But yeah, there's spooky stuff in Marvel sometimes. It just doesn't sell very well, apparently. So the movie Blade, the film, came out in 1998. It stars Wesley Snipes and Stephen Dorff. I don't know who that was. Chris Christopherson. That name's familiar, but I don't. Is he the bad guy? I guess I can just push the button here and see what he looks like. Oh no, he's Whistler.
Okay.
Yeah. Who is Stephen Dorff? He's the bad guy. Yeah, I guess that name's familiar too. And oof, I'm gonna butcher this. Mbouche Wright. I imagine plays the female lead here. Mbouche. I think I probably said that right. But it did pretty well. I think kind of as an older millennial, I guess I would say. A lot of people I know have pretty fond memories of Blade. I know when I was a kid, I thought Blade was pretty fucking dope. And then, they stopped making the movies and I never really thought about it again.
I know when I was a kid, that was like one of Stuart's favorite movies was Blade.
Really?
Yeah. And we all watched it about once a year at home.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I think my dad was pretty into Blade, I think. He was the one who took me to see all the movies. But yeah, I probably never thought about Blade again until they announced a couple of years ago that they're making a new Blade movie with Mahershala Ali. And,
No, they didn't.
well, they're working on it. They're trying. They're doing their best, but apparently it's been kind of rough. And then last year, Arcane Studios, they make like the Dishonored games and Prey and those games. They announced they're making a Blade video game, so that'll be pretty fucking cool. They make good games.
Yeah, I remember, like I said, I remember Blade being an amazing action movie.
Yeah.
I do. I remember it being an amazing action movie.
Well.
And it's kind of like, oh, sweet. If they're all like this, maybe I'll like action movies. Well, I hate action movies.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so top level thoughts. What did you think of Blade?
Did not age well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't. It's so corny and cheesy. And it didn't age well.
Mm.
From little Haylee to now, with all the, like, CGI and everything, like, everything is more fake, and you know it's fake.
Mm-hmm.
There, I guess you could see the more realistic.
There was a lot more actual fight scenes choreographed.
Like Jackie Chan action, where it's real.
Yeah.
And now you see the movies that are fake, and you know they're fake, but they're so freaking awesome.
Yeah.
The fight scenes were just
the two people kicking each other and missing over and over again.
Like they were corny and cheesy.
More like a dance.
Yeah.
Than a fight.
Exactly. So that's how I look at it. It didn't age well.
Yeah.
And I mean, great. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Just don't go into it thinking, oh my god, I remember this movie being amazing. And it'll let you down.
I have kind of the opposite reaction, where I went into this thinking it was going to be really corny and age really poorly and be really bad, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised. I think it ages, if you go in with low expectations, I think it ages better than you think it will.
But see, I went in with high expectations because I remember it being amazing.
No. It's definitely corny. It's definitely 90s. I meant to look up, did this come out before or after The Matrix? Because
I want to say probably before. I think the first Matrix was like 01 or 2000. Or maybe 99.
99, so 1 year after The Matrix came out.
Before.
Yeah. I guess it was just the style of the time then, because just all the leather and there's just a vibe to this movie, a very late 90s, early 2000s vibe.
Like, super goth.
Yeah. So, got some things here. I said, I actually think this movie's pretty not bad. We watched X-Men a couple of months ago, and we got like halfway through it, and we stopped watching it because we were bored. We didn't stop watching this because we were bored.
I stopped watching because I cooked dinner.
Yeah. There were a couple of scenes that you missed, and I do think that a couple of the scenes that you missed are pretty vitally important. Such as the... I didn't write down the exact quote, but some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill. It's the dumbest line in the movie.
I heard it.
It's like, it's the meme of the movie. That's like his big one-liner after he just killed his own mother and he thinks he defeated the bad guy. Alright. Cool. And the other big scene that you missed was the weird incest scene with his mom. Where when they, at the end of the movie, when they have him like in his sarcophagus tomb thing and they're taking his blood, she opens it up and she like, they get really close and really intimate, and she like acts a bunch of times like she's gonna kiss him, and he like kind of reciprocates. It's an odd scene.
I saw a part of that where she was like, "It's okay, Eric," or whatever, and it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, how would he know what his name is?
Yeah. And so that one's definitely a weird one. The other thing that I noticed pretty early on is, at first I thought maybe this was supposed to be in New York because everything in Marvel takes place in New York. But the more I think about it, the more I kind of look at them. You think so? I don't.
Chinatown.
I was kind of thinking Chicago.
I was thinking more like Chinatown.
Yeah, but
there were a
everything's
lot
so
of
gray though.
Yeah, but the scene where Frost is standing at the park.
Yeah, they are.
And if you think about it, there's a lot of
at a beach too.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess there's probably a beach in Chicago too. It's on the Great Lakes, isn't it?
I don't think Chicago is on the Great Lakes. That's more Minnesota.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking San Francisco because this is gonna sound a little weird, but all of the Asian businesses and fronts for the vampires are Asian oriented. Yeah. And then the girl that Frost has in that scene, it looks like it's like a Chinatown-esque.
Yeah, I can see that too, I guess.
But because even the big fight scenes, there were a lot of karate and all that stuff, and from
lots
the fronts. And
all vampires know karate.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I thought Chinatown.
Yeah. But the point that I wanted to make is whatever city this is absolutely fucking filthy, and they have not yet invented recycling. And everybody in town buys a newspaper every morning and then just fucking throws it in the air when they're done reading it. So they're just flying everywhere to an insane degree. The most newspapers I've ever seen in my life. Constantly just whirling around Blade.
Yeah. Maybe he attracts the newspaper.
Maybe that's one of his superpowers.
Maybe he's taking him back to Whistler because he
always needs to be super up to date on the current news and affairs. Newspapers flock to him.
That's how he knows where all the fronts are and where all the raids and stuff are.
Where he gets his intel. Do I want to go back into a negative or a positive?
Well, I got a lot of negatives, so go to positives.
The opening scene, I think, is quite good. There's this whole scene that you watched along with us, so you know, where there's this young couple and they're like getting frisky in the car, and it's like, "Where are you taking me?" "Oh, it's a surprise." She takes him to like this weird like packing plant that also looks like an indoor pool. It's cool design wise, but it doesn't make a lot of sense if you think about it.
But his main thought was like, why are we here?
Yeah. But it turns out to be like a giant rave, and then the people are starting to be like assholes to him. And he's like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna go." And the sprinklers turn on, and they start sprinkling blood.
But the blood did look more realistic than Sweeney Todd blood.
Yeah.
I do have to say that it wasn't orange.
And then he starts making his way through the crowd, and everybody's covered in blood and dancing to this rave music. And then Blade shows up and just starts kicking ass. And this was the best scene in the whole movie. This whole section, the first 20-minute section, is the best part of the whole movie.
Now, to bounce off of your positive, okay, why was it like he was the only human there?
I got the impression he was.
But why was he the only human there? Like,
well,
were they like gonna sacrifice him?
Yeah, that's the impression I got.
Was
they were like, the blood coming from the ceiling is like cow blood, but they have one real human there that they like pass around like a volleyball. And
then how did he make it out alive at the end?
Yeah.
With all the vampires right there ready to get him. Not one of them got to him before Blade started killing people?
I guess not. He's a wily one.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And then the cops just automatically knowing where everything is.
Yes. The amount that the cops are ready to just fucking pop off in this movie as well is pretty crazy. When they just start shooting at Blade while he's carrying the woman around.
Right. And the fact that see, it just goes into weird how
and we're gonna talk a lot about like weird plot holes and shit like that, but I will say like this is a movie and it's like a 90s movie.
Yeah.
So a lot of this shit, it's fun to make fun of, but I think we can hand wave a lot of it. But it's fun to talk shit about.
Yeah. And wow, when Blade shows up, all the vampires are like, "Is that him? The Daywalker? Is that Blade? Is that Blade?" It's like they never even met him before, but they're terrified of him already.
Famous.
But they're terrified.
The Daywalker. The Daywalker is a cool fucking name too.
It is, but they act like they've never seen him before when that is his main mission, is to kill vampires. But is that Blade? Is that Daywalker? Is that him? And they were like fangirling over him, knowing he's going to kill them.
Can I get your autograph real quick?
Right. That was like a little corny though, is when he showed up and they're all like that, and it's like, oh my god, really?
No. And then I think really early on, this is the first scene we get with like the fun, crazy vampire. I don't know his name, but the one that was like the comic relief of the vampires.
Yeah.
That's the one that they burn. He burns at the beginning,
Yes.
right? I was gonna say, see,
where he's like, "I'm tired of killing you."
Yeah, they never really make it super clear how effective the vampire healing powers are. But this one vampire dude is scorched, and his arm is cut off. And then later he's like totally fine, but he has a different arm. And then Blade cuts both of his arms off. And then later he has normal arms.
And then he's like, "It just grew back." He's actually in a show called Grounded for Life. He's the guy.
I thought he looked kind of familiar as well.
Yeah.
I didn't see him on the Wikipedia that I was just looking up, but Yeah, he was a fun character.
He's the dad in Grounded for Life. That's the only thing I've ever seen him in, other than Blade.
What did you think of the villain? Deacon Frost, which from what I understand is Blade's like his Joker. Like he's like his guy. So he's weird, right?
Very.
He has a weird vibe.
He's like...
Let's see what I wrote down here.
He's like the guy that can get you all the drugs and everything.
Yeah.
But also, haha, I can do whatever I want because I'm cocky as fuck.
I wrote down like a Gen X asshole vampire cool guy.
Maybe they told the future of Gen X. Gen Z, you mean?
I guess so.
Gen Z.
Whatever was before millennial.
Oh, so then, yeah, Gen X.
Yeah.
That would be our parents.
Yeah. It's a real weird vibe. I didn't dislike it. I don't think he's like great or anything, but like as your villain, he's like he just has a weird attitude.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
He doesn't give off I'm the ancient vampire that turned your mother vibes.
Right.
He gives off, like you said, like the drug dealer at the party vibes.
Yeah, exactly. The one who can get you anything you want for a price.
Yeah.
But no, like, he very smart, I guess. The way he weaseled his way into the true born vampires, that's a plot hole. Like, how did he do it?
Yeah.
They all hate him.
Yeah, but they also all are aware of him. Like apparently he must be like super awful vampire number one.
Yeah.
They all know who he is, and he like hangs out there.
And he infiltrates their archives.
No.
Is that the word?
Yes.
Yeah, he infiltrates their archives. They just let him do it. And he's literally like there, and they're like, well, nobody can decipher this, blah blah blah, and he deciphers it within a whole 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Which the technology in a
like I said, this is Matrix times.
1998, the technology to decipher ancient text.
Yeah, looks like a PlayStation 1 video game.
Which is like, what?
Yeah.
And he did it just by, oh, this doesn't work.
Yeah, he had like AI doing it.
Yeah. And I don't think that was a thing in the 90s. So, I mean, I guess this movie was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But
in that way, yeah, because AI does kind of do shit like that now.
Yeah. And then he's just sitting there listening to music while that ancient vampire comes in and says, you're not supposed to be
Did the
here.
ancient vampire, like the main ancient vampire, kind of look like Elon Musk to you?
Yes. Yes. And he's like, you're not supposed to be in here. Nobody's supposed to be going through these. You can never decipher that. And it's like, and he's just sitting there like, I'm going to do what I want. Don't tell me what to do.
Don't tell me what to do, Dad.
Right.
There is kind of that vibe. Like, I'll do what I want, Dad.
And that's what I thought. Like, maybe he was the one who bit him?
Maybe they were trying to imply that.
Yeah.
But they never say it.
Because Frost only really interacted with that vampire through the whole time. And he was spoilers if you haven't seen it, but I'm pretty sure you have. He was the only one that he personally killed.
Yeah. I bet that is what they were going for now that I think about it. But they never say that.
Yeah. And he's like the disappointed dad in him.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt to me, is the way he was talking to him and stuff. And Frost was just like, ha ha ha.
Yeah. They definitely should have spelled that out a little better. Because it definitely would have made it maybe hit a little harder, I guess, when he eventually kills him. Yeah. Be like, oh my goodness, he killed his own dad.
Right. And I don't think he was like the leader of the ancient vampires, because they are all 13 of them.
Yeah. Like a council of vampires.
Yeah, they were just a council of true-born vampires, which that's not a thing.
Yeah.
But it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, even in my shows, it's not an actual thing. So
That doesn't happen in True Blood.
I don't watch True Blood.
Well,
Vampire
Diaries.
No, they turned into vampires by their mom, who was a witch, to try not to make her kids not die. But there's never been a true-born vampire, except for I guess Twilight. Their daughter Renesmee, she was a true-born vampire.
I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. I've never ever heard that in vampire lore, ever.
Yeah. Strahd. No, Strahd wasn't born a vampire.
Yeah, you always have to
But
be
he is
bitten.
the original vampire, and he wasn't bitten.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I shouldn't tell you that, actually.
I'll probably forget by the time we get back to Strahd. But it's not D&D.
Yeah.
But they've always had to have been bitten, or a witch did it, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a big plot hole to me, is how were they true-born vampires? And, like, did they create this vampire line?
I think in one of the next two movies, I think the bad guy is, like, Dracula. So they might get into that.
Maybe. Well, like I said, I only remember Blade and a little bit of Blade 2.
Mm-hmm. I don't really remember Blade 2, but I just remember Ryan Reynolds is in 3, and I remember it not being good. And I remember thinking it wasn't good at the time.
The only reason why I remember 2 is because Whistler.
Yeah.
So that's it. And that's the only thing I remember of 2 is Whistler. Because
like I said, I don't remember what happens in 2, but Whistler is like his guy in the chair. He definitely dies in this movie.
Definitely.
And he's in the other movies, I remember.
But I do remember him explaining how he survived.
Yeah.
And I do remember that. He does explain how he survived. I just don't remember how he survived. But I think it was the whole him being bitten.
Mm.
And when he got the gun, I think he was saying like he was pretending to sacrifice himself so Blade would just do what he needed to do.
Mm.
But I don't remember 100%. Because I remember watching that with Mom and them.
Mm-hmm.
And Stuart was like, "What? He died!" And so...
We're a half an hour in and I have a lot more to say.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
Another thing that I want to talk about is the amount that no normal people in this universe give a fuck about what the vampires are doing. There's a scene where Blade is trying to save this little kid, and Deacon throws this little kid across the street in front of this bus, and Blade jumps all the way across the street, lands, picks the little girl up, takes her out to the corner, and people are just like walking by. It's like reading newspapers, like, okay. It's going about their business. And they have this crazy confrontation in the park, and people are just passing by hearing their whole conversation about how we're going to bring back the vampire gods, and
Yeah.
people do not give a fuck.
Yeah. And then, like, when you get back to the doctor and the very first scene that she's in, and the morgue, or her lab from the morgue, and her ex-boyfriend, you can definitely tell it's ex-boyfriend with feelings still.
What was her ex-boyfriend? Is that Captain Hammer?
I don't know.
Let me look it up.
But you can tell he still has feelings for her. And she's just like, "Oh, I'm not in the mood for your games. It's over, blah, blah, blah." And then the vampire comes back, kills him, bites her. And then the cops are just automatically there, knowing that that's where Blade was showing up. Was he?
No.
But I don't know where I was getting to this point. Oh, yeah. That's where I was getting.
Fun facts here. Brenda Song is in this movie as the little girl that Blade saves.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't see that. Okay.
Additionally, Stephen Norrington portrays Michael Morbius in a deleted scene.
Oh.
It's Morbid time, babe.
Oh.
We did not watch that deleted scene, but that's interesting. I don't. Tim Guinea. Yeah, that's not Captain Hammer. Yeah, I was wrong about that. Well, those are some crazy fun facts.
I don't see Brenda's song on that little girl, though.
Apparently she was.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So back to the people don't really care aspect is that's what I was getting to with the whole lab and everything. Is Blade comes, gets her, she gets bit in the middle of a freaking hospital.
Yes.
And no doctors or anything are all like, oh my god, this burnt Chris person just bit her.
In fact, the police break in and start shooting at her.
So it's like, first, how do the police know the Blade was going to be there?
Yes.
Because security at a hospital is not full force freaking police department, SWAT team, or nothing.
No.
And second, these doctors in this hospital are just like, oh, this happens.
Yeah, apparently. Maybe it's like a regular thing.
Right. But when she was looking at the blood, she's like, this isn't real. This is just a ploy for you to talk to me. This is over and all that stuff. But then he's like, no, I have the body here. She goes, bam, bite, done.
No. It's worth talking about the female lead for a moment. Because she's an interesting character. She's like a fine actor or whatever. But the quickness that she comes up with a cure for vampirism is pretty crazy. It's almost immediate. And they kind of set it up like she was almost like kind of already working on it, which why would she be?
When she had no idea vampires were even a thing.
And just the amount of just like instantly she is in and she knows all about the chemistry of how to take out these vampires
and she just had the serum.
And like I said, in the very first Blade movie, they cure vampirism right away.
And the hospital let her take all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just saying, no hospital's gonna be like, well, what are you doing? Oh, curing vampirism. I need this for a little bit.
I have to imagine in the second movie they're gonna be like, the cure didn't work. Or like, people are still changing.
Yeah, but only she knew. Her and Blade and Whistler knew about it.
Yeah.
Frost didn't know.
I think they're gonna have to like retcon it in some way.
Yeah.
Because you can't start a movie trilogy and cure the main problem.
Well, here's the other thing. I remember even just saying this to you. I'm like, isn't it funny how garlic is the cure to reverse a bite?
Yeah.
Let's just inject somebody with garlic.
If garlic is the cure, nobody would ever turn into a vampire because every food that you eat has garlic in it.
Yeah. Yeah, but vampires get an allergic reaction to the garlic. But if Whistler injected garlic into her, and then he was all like, well, I think we caught it in time. And then she starts changing or whatever. He's like, well, we didn't catch it in time. It's like, what is garlic supposed to do? Like, did he just, like, mince up a whole bunch of garlic and was like, here, this works? It works on Blade, but it doesn't.
Yes. And
that's what is to stop the turning into a vampire is garlic.
Yes.
Dumb. But on the Whistler, he's a pretty badass character. He's a human.
He was in it kind of a lot less than I thought.
Yeah.
He's really not in it a whole lot. He shows up in like one action scene kind of halfway through that was kind of cool.
And she's like, what about Whistler? He's like, he can take care of himself.
No.
When he's got a bum-ass leg and... He didn't get injured at all until he died.
Yes. I've written here, Blade is probably the corniest character in the whole movie. Which he is. His one-liners are one-lining. Not very well. He is not Spider-Man. The other thing, they spend a lot of time setting up that there are very specific ways that you have to kill vampires. Blade sure does punch a lot of vampires to death in this movie.
It's because he goes for the head. That's one of the things he said. Goes for the head, the heart. He goes for the head.
There are quite a few scenes where Blade will kick a vampire in the chest, they'll fly back and turn to ash.
I think his shoes have silver on them, though. I think that's part of it. That's why he did it like
Could be,
that.
I guess.
But I think his shoes have the silver spike on them.
Yeah.
And that's why because everything that they were hit with silver, they exploded like that.
Mm.
So I think that's what they were like suggesting.
Yeah.
I could see that, but I don't think I ever saw it.
No. No,
So,
he doesn't have like spiked knee pads or anything.
no. It's just all black leather.
Which, I guess, leads me to why is this like a kung fu movie?
That's what I'm saying. I think it's in Chinatown.
Like, when I think of like vampire hunting, I don't think kung fu. I don't really think martial arts. I think like, and there are a handful of times he has like a shotgun, he has like tools, but he really doesn't use the tools all that much. He's taekwondoing a lot, which I don't think is the way to go for a vampire hunting movie.
They were just some karate chopping fools.
I guess so. It was a very karate chopping time in the late '90s, early 2000s. The Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I'm sure was out at this point. And,
V for Vendetta.
uh,
I think that's early 2000s.
which, you know, we don't really see a lot of kung fu movies nowadays, and I think that's with good reason because it was played out in the late '90s, early 2000s. Which I think is maybe why I like Shang-Chi as much as I do, because that is kind of a kung fu Marvel movie, and it was fun. There needs to be a happy medium, and I think that movie was a happy medium.
Real one. This one was just like Wesley Snipes in the center of all this karate.
Yes. It's interesting.
One of my favorite parts was Jabba the Hutt thing.
Yes.
That's one of my favorites. But here's the part two. Since when do UV light, like UV ray lights, kill vampires? I thought it just had to be sunlight.
I've seen a lot of movies where they use UV lights as well. I don't remember if they set it up in this movie that it would work. They set it up that they like built a thing, but
Well, remember he said to her UV light, silver. Garlic gives an allergic reaction. But crucifixes aren't a thing. Wooden stakes aren't a thing in this world.
Oh.
But black lights are a thing. But if that's the case, the raid had UV black lights.
Oh yeah.
So were they all wearing sunscreen?
That's a weird fucking thing too that they introduced kind of halfway into the movie. These vampires seem to walk around if they're wearing sunscreen.
But they're so jealous of Blade for being a daywalker.
It's weird. Like halfway into the movie, it's like vampires cannot go out during the day. Until halfway in the movie when they can if they wear sunscreen.
Yeah. And then that whole little montage where he's just putting the sunscreen on his face.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, that's stupid.
It's interesting. Like they didn't need to do that. Just have those scenes be at nighttime.
Right.
And erase that whole stupid thing. I think I'm pretty close to good.
Okay, so he killed a lot of vampires, but not Frost in Chinatown. He could have killed him, plain straight up, without killing the little girl.
Yeah. They do never really showcase that Frost is like this crazy like martial artist like cool guy until like the very end.
And that's only because the blood god is in him. That's it. Like Frost did not do no fighting, nothing.
They also don't really do a very good job of showing that like vampires are dangerous, really. it kind of seems like being a vampire, the only power you really get is that you know martial arts all of a sudden. Like they weren't like zipping around, like moving real fast, and like
They were in the archive scene. The
mm,
little girl.
a little bit, yeah.
Remember, she was going bam, 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 and he was trying to follow her, and then she martial arted him.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I'll help you. You're not supposed to be here. And then she's like, haha, no.
Yeah.
Kick to the face. And then these weird, scrawny little vampires got him.
Mm.
And it's just like, it was dumb.
Yeah. They don't really give off the impression that they're like super strong or
Yeah.
that they're just kind of normal people who know kung fu and move fast sometimes.
And then the whole time he had the earpiece to Whistler. He's like, you think I'd come alone? And it's his backup. It's just one man.
Yeah.
Just one man.
Mm-hmm.
Not a whole bunch of people that they say, oh, we've been fighting them for a long time. A lot of us, blah, blah, blah. It's just Blade and Whistler. That's it. But the way the Whistler makes it sound is a whole bunch of them are fighting the vampires.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of people, but it's just Whistler that shows up.
Yeah.
And he automatically knows where to show up because Blade never said, hey, we're here.
I wonder if these other movies are gonna introduce like some of these other Marvel characters, like Elsa Bloodstone and like Werewolf by Night and shit. I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't really remember.
The way I look at it is Frost's just a power-hungry douche. But I guess he knew how to get to Blade with his whole mommy issues, which is a little weird. Girl doctor looked like his mom or reminded him of his mom.
Yeah.
And he, like, fell in love with her.
Mm-hmm.
And how would... That's also the other thing. How the fuck would Blade know what his mom looked like or how she
Yeah.
was acting when she was dying
Mm-hmm.
when he was literally just brought into this fucking world?
The whole mom thing is really weird. It was definitely like one of the writer's fetishes that like,
Yeah.
oh, your mom's like a slut.
Yeah. But... And then Frost is like, haha, you've been hunting the vampire the whole time that killed your mom. And here she is, and I did it. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like, what? And then her just calling him Eric. Like, she named him when he was born, but she was dead.
Yeah.
She died before he came out of her. So how did she name him?
I don't know. Maybe it was a Padme type situation.
Maybe. It's just weird. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And what did I miss at the end? Where did the doctor go?
They don't really explain.
Yeah, so she was just there, she cured vampirism, and then she's gone?
Yeah, because they like hard end on the fight. Like they defeat Deacon, they blow him up with her special serum, and then it just cuts to this other scene of like
For the second one.
yeah, of like Blade's in Russia and he's fighting vampires in Russia,
Yeah.
which was a cool scene as well. I thought because it was like a mirror of the original scene, but in Russian.
And then I do have one more point.
Well,
Okay, so when they're killing the ancient vampire,
mm,
okay, they're on the beach at sunrise.
mm-hmm.
Okay. He starts
Wearing the
smoking.
sunscreen.
Yeah, they're wearing sunscreen. Oh, and they're also wearing welder's helmets. But there's biker helmets.
Mm,
Okay, so they're wearing their sunscreen. They're wearing their protective gear. Okay. It is still dark when he starts smoking. And
Yeah.
it is dark for a little bit while he's smoking. He's like, oh, sunrise. You've never seen one since you were a true-born vampire. And then, bam, it's automatic light time. The sun doesn't just start slowly rising. It just automatic. Sun is up. That's it. You're dead.
Yeah.
That's
The
not
life
how
of a vampire is
that's
rough.
not how sunrises work, though. Because it's dark and then, bam, the sun is up, full blown going.
Maybe that's how it is in Chicago, Francisco.
Francisco. San Francisco, babe. But yeah, so that's another plot hole. So I'm just full of like negatives.
Yeah. we've gone on for quite a while about all the negative things about this movie, but I actually was pretty happy with it. I would say I don't think it's spoilers. This is our number one movie right now
Yeah.
because we've watched one movie. Uh, it might, for me, it might stay there a little while. Like not long,
Well,
but
if I know the next one's coming up,
mm,
it'll move for me.
yeah. Well, I think. Well, we'll also do this. Our number one villain, which I decided to do during this episode, is Deacon Frost, because he is the one villain. I'm thinking right now. Would you agree with those rankings?
I would. We ain't got nothing else to put it up with, so yeah.
I'm thinking right now, kind of, because I want to do like TV shows as well, but I know that that's more of a time commitment. So I'm thinking this is our first episode. It's like the first of the month, almost tomorrow. So I'll say at the end of the month, we'll review maybe the first season of X-Men animated series.
You just watched that.
I watched it a while ago, and I don't remember if I made it all the way through the first
But
season.
is X-Men first or Spider-Man first?
Oh, there
Yeah.
are really early ones we could do.
That's what I'm
There are
saying.
also really early movies we could do.
I know, because I remember when we were watching Blade, I'm like, wait, Howard the Duck's first.
Yeah.
We should have started really with Howard the Duck, but Blade is so fresh in our mind
Mm-hmm.
for future spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay. But, I mean, Howard the Duck is one of the very first Marvel
Mm-hmm.
movies.
We could do like I was gonna say Spider-Man the animated series, but I don't know which one we would do.
There's a bunch.
There's a bunch of them, and I don't know the name of like the original '90s one.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we get into the TV shows, it's gonna be very time consuming. Because you got all the Spider-Mans, you got all the
Right.
X-Men, you
Well, I
got...
was saying is like we'll do like one a month,
Okay.
and we'll give like the whole month. Like you have the whole month to watch the show.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Well, we could do that probably, but it would have to be one show a month.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Do you want to do Agents of Shield?
Yeah, we haven't watched that.
Yeah, I think I did watch the first season a long time ago. So that's what we'll do. The episode at the end of the month, the last episode, will be the first season of Agents of Shield. So get your Disney Plus in. And then next week, I think, is go to the next one, X-Men.
Okay.
Or do you want to do Howard the Duck?
Let's do Howard the Duck, because like you said earlier on, we tried watching X-Men, we got halfway through, and we were so bored.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll do like these older movies, and it's not gonna be necessarily in order all the time. We'll just kind of throw shit at the wall. But then maybe like the third week of the month, we'll do the first MCU movie, and then
Yeah.
we'll start with Iron Man and work our way forward.
And throw it through.
And then the last week of the month will be the TV show that we do.
I like that plan. And that way we're not just stuck with the old movies 1st. And we could add some of this new CGI stuff compared to the old movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're pretty set on the MCU. Like, we are good with that. We've seen all of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're still fresh in our mind because we watch them once a year.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably good. And that's where we're getting bored, is because that CGI and the action and stuff aren't so big in the earlier movies.
Yeah.
So if we throw in a new movie, then I think it would be really good.
Alrighty. Well, I think that's a successful episode of Insert Show Name. Anything else to add, Bib?
No, I was happy. I'm happy we're gonna do this.
Yeah, I think this will be fun. I think this was a fun episode to record.
Yeah.
Well.
Also,
mhm.
if you guys have anything to say about these movies, comment. And we could read a comment in the next video.
We might. Have a marvelous day. I'll change that tagline later because I stole it. Bye.